Okay, we are live. With us today is John Pomeroy and Daniel Costa. Recently, we're at CALEXIT CON. This is our fifth one. We've been doing this for about half a year. And, we've had a lot of people become more interested in the conferences. We've had a lot of old members become re energized. And here are two people in the CALEXIT movement that have been here for years, but have recently agreed to step up and take on more of a role. Uh, John Pomeroy, could you tell us about the position you took recently and why you did that, and what were you hoping to gain for the movement out of that, sir?
Yeah, for sure. I am officially known as the Director of Outreach. I did this job unofficially for the first 4 years of my involvement, so it just made sense to make it an official role. It also gives a little more legitimacy to the outreach that I've been doing, and the people that I talk to seem to respond better to having that on there. I agreed to take an official role for a couple reasons, but mainly in the hopes of driving the conversation toward solutions rather than all the problems that have put us in this place where we want our independence in the first place. Um, there's, in my opinion, entirely too much time spent on the problems and fighting about minutia and differences of opinions when that time could be much better spent on solutions. So my aim in outreach is to find the people out there in the world who are actively working towards solutions and not allowing themselves to get bogged down in all of the negativity.
Okay, Daniel. Daniel Costa, could you tell us about the position you took and what goals you had when you did that?
Yes, so I took on the role of Secretary of State. And the reason I did this is, first of all, I came into the CalExit movement when it first started in 2016, and I've been with different organizations. And I've seen that there's much division with people in the California independence movement and people that would benefit to be in the organization itself. And so I took on this position for me because I started doing this naturally to bring people together, former people that went astray with independent California, and to bring back all these important figures back and to make them a one unit and to put all the bickering, all our differences um, aside so that we can, as a movement, we can be solid where we were divided before. So basically, I want to reunite all this. I've done this through these conferences, hosting conferences, and to get people to come physically to them or to Zoom in, and to bring anybody that has anything to gain within independent California, which is huge with all California organizations, because there's so many of them that are separate, whether it's civic organizations, whether it's women's right, LGBT, whether it's environment. There's too many divergence, too much divergence on in our organization. So I want to bring all these back under an umbrella, under the CalExit umbrella. I don't care what organization you represent, but to convince and to educate all these organizations, all these former activists, that we benefit, that we all benefit by an independent California, by either showing them that the system is broken at the federal level, or telling them how independent California could solve all their problems. So that's basically what I want to do, and I'm committed to it. And I'm happy that Marcus, actually, we talked about it in passing, and I was joking about it. And he said, "No, would you like to take on that position?" I said, "Sure, I'm doing it already." That's going to be my goal going on forward, and I'm enthusiastic this year that actually we're gaining some momentum, and so I encourage everyone that wants to take on a more responsibility. There's positions within CalExit, and or if you have a friend or if you have anybody that's interested in that, please let them know about us, and we would welcome them to to have a bigger role and a title if they would like. So that's what I wanted to say.
John Pomeroy, you've had a fair amount of success, and I've seen you for a while, a couple of years. You're able to reach out to people that you have no contact with and begin to build a bridge. As Governor Brown recently said, Californians don't build walls, we build bridges. Sir, I've seen you follow this California value. Could you talk about some of your greatest successes and possible things? I think there was a rumored, you are currently, correct me if I'm wrong, in negotiations with the Alex Salmond show out of Scotland for an original air date and possibly the former Prime Minister of Scotland to come to the CALEXIT conferences. Is that correct, sir?
It is correct. I didn't want to tell the whole world about that quite yet because it's not been finalized. But yeah, we have been in conversations. For those of you that don't know, Alex Salmond is the predecessor for Nicola Sturgeon, who is the First Minister of Scotland currently. And for those of you who don't have social media, you're probably not listening right now, but you might have missed that there were 80,000 Scots in the street this morning in Glasgow marching for their independence. And Yes, California came directly out of Yes, Scotland. Yes 2 is what they're calling their initiative now. And Yes, Scotland and Yes, Scot are still involved. Lots of good stuff coming out of Scotland. So there are definitely good things on the horizon for us. And hopefully it works out where the Alex Salmond show can come out.
Daniel Costa, you've been making some serious inroads over the last couple months, reaching out to CalExit members. You know, we were quite big in 2017. I think the email list was around 250,000 people. And some people are still there, but they're less active. Recently, we've seen such names as Steve Gonzalez and Rosemary Lemus and Theo Slater and possibly Jed Wheeler become re-involved in the conversation. Could you talk about what you're doing to get people more re-involved and some of the successes you've had that you're proud of?
Sure. Just to be frank and honest, when CalExit started, there were many rumors and a lot of fake also rumors that happened. So that CalExit that was once popular became less popular, and so now we've restarted the whole campaign. And what I'm doing is putting all these myths to rest. And I'm calling back all these members that had these misconceptions about CalExit and its associations, and telling them that this is no longer the same organization. It's basically an organization of all of independent California, not just Yes California, or not just what we call the CalExit movement. So the way I've been able to successfully do that is to a lot of the members have been isolated after the CalExit movement kind of went off. So I'm trying to get them back involved and showing them all these videos that we're doing, the serious work that we're doing, and telling them that all these myths that they are still holding on to are false. And slowly people are coming back around and going, okay, well, I'm getting involved now. I'm getting into the conversations. It seems that the conversation is quite different than what it was, and that the image of Yes California, CalExit has gotten progressively better. So that's what I'm doing, and it's had quite a success because I'm bringing these people out of isolation and giving them a role again. And these were key figures in the IC movement, and they did a lot. They spent a lot. I was in different organization, and they all did a lot to move forward the whole CalEx movement. So I find that's very important. And at the same time, I want to reach out to people that don't know that we really exist, that have the same uh, values that we have, and reach out and convince them, not convince them, but educate them that there is an outlet for them to come in. Because a lot of people, and the same thing with me when I first joined after Trump got elected, I was dismayed. I was like in mourning. I saw a lot of Californians the same way. It's going to happen again after this election, and people that are dismayed and stuff, they don't know what to do. They're hopeless and stuff. So I want to give them the same hope that CalExit gave me when I came in, to do something about it instead of crying in your soup. Come out, do something about it, get involved, and they have the same values. And and if they know about us, they're going to go, my God, I didn't even know that was even possible. That was my thought of an independent company. It's never going to happen, right? And there's a lot of people out there that I talk to that still say that, and that's what I want to convince them and educate them on, and that's my higher purpose.
Last question for both of you. John Pomeroy, why should someone who's Californian but doesn't know about us, why should they want to know about the CalExit movement? Why should they want to hang out with us? Why should they care at all, even if they don't support it? Being aware that it's an option. Right? Why get involved in the movement? Why care? Why hang out with the movement? Why at least know what they're saying?
Because we it's a pretty simple answer, actually, because we offer a viable and real time solution. We can continue to get bogged down in the quagmire of United States politics and all of the baggage that comes with, all of the restrictions and red tape and bureaucracy, or we can start anew. We can build a system that works for everyone, that everyone feels like they have a voice and that their voice is heard, and that we have a system that works for people and planet and makes good on all of the wrongs that the colonial and imperial mindset have inflicted upon humanity globally. I wanted to address something that you said earlier regarding the direction and how people became isolated and alienated from the movement. There was a concerted effort from the media to marginalize the movement. Trevor Noah made an effort to make fun of us. And it's like that adage, right? First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. Well, we're in the fight right now. And when our second initiative got approval from the California Attorney General to gather signatures, I received a box at my house, and I took that box and I had a petition party, and we had live music and cider, and it was awesome. There was hundreds of people that came out, and there were literally people lining up county by county to sign the petition because of how excited they were about the options that we were presenting to people. When Tim Draper filed his 3-state initiative and paid people to gather signatures, qualified it for the ballot, I was unable to get signatures from that point forward. Everybody's like, no, I don't want to break California into 3 states. And I would say, no, that's not us. That's the other guy. And they were like, no, confusing, whatever. And what happened with Tim Draper's initiative? Does anyone know?
Stopped by the courts.
Stopped by the courts. So he qualified for the ballot,
With no legal petition.
whether it was illegal or not, it was qualified for the California ballot, and the California Supreme Court said, no, that can't be voted on. That would be too disruptive. This is what we are fighting against. This is what Marcus was talking about. This is what Hannah was talking about. This is what you were talking about. The forces that are lined against us are strong and powerful, and they've been doing these things for a long time. And I personally think it's a mistake to try and use their system to fix the problems that we face. Did the colonists ask King George for permission to leave? No, they did not. They just left. And that is what we need to do, in my opinion, and why I took an official role with California Exit.
Yeah, and I would add that the main media has done so much damage also for the independent California. We got Rachel Maddow that plainly stated that it was a ridiculous idea. It was stupid. She joked about it. She made fun of it. And so they're not helping. So we definitely need to put out the word ourselves and do our own publicity for it, because they're not going to.
That's right.
So
Yeah, I remember that time that Rachel Maddow went on television and said that Nigel Farage, connected to Vladimir Putin, was backing CalExit with support by the Republican Party. A complete and total lie with no evidence. And yet everybody in California believed it, and it was really hard to tell them it's a lie. So I hear what you're saying. Daniel, last question. Why should someone get back involved with the CalExit movement? We're talking about 100, 102, 120,000 people who were heavily involved. We still got about 100,000. We lost about 120,000. Why should that 120,000 who were very involved come back, be involved again? What's going to happen in the near future, possibly, that would make this highly relevant to their lives?
yes, because I mean, for the same reason that they got into it in the first place, but that they have been watching since they're activists. They've been watching the news. They've been seeing the patterns that we're going through, and that it's even more relevant now in the times of Trump and what's going on to actually make independent California come true. Now they're already convinced about that, so it's easier to get them back. But we have to put this into the minds of Californians, and they're not convinced of it yet. That the system, the federal system, is broken. That we have a rogue government. That we are no longer a democracy, and if it's broken, that we can't fix it. What is the solution? You hit on that earlier, Marcus. What is the solution? There's only one solution for California. It's to become independent. And like John alluded to, we cannot do that in a broken system. We cannot use the same methods of a broken system. And Californians are still in the belief thing that if they protest enough, if we get a Democratic president, and everything's going to be fixed again. They're still under that delusion, and we have got to slap them in the face and say, wake up, smell the coffee, it's never going to happen. And once they're convinced, they can only come into independent California and believe in it if they're convinced that the system is broken. Because as long as they're convinced that there's a slight chance that America is going to come back to the old days of a democracy or whatever, that it was never for everyone. As long as they're convinced of that, they're not going to be for an independent California. We have got to prove to them that the system is broken. We cannot use the same methods of protest, of civil obedience. All that does not work. And we've seen it. We've seen protests on the street. We see it has not changed anything, and it will not change in 2020. So once you realize that, you say, what's the solution? The only solution is for us to become independent from this oppressive government, and that what they're looking at is no more the U.S. that they thought they were in, and it's not going to come back. They know they're not in the U.S. that they used to be, but they think it's going to come back. So we have to tell them, no, look at, here's fact to fact to fact, it's not going to come back. And so that's what I want to tell all the former CalExit activists, that they need to come back and step up, because they already believe, they have that inherent belief that, you know, we do need to become independent California for all the reasons I've stated. So I want them to come back forward and start having talking points with other people, with our organization, with all other organizations. The more we can spread that message, the more we will be effective in our quest.
Thank you both very much.